Tonight, the final heat plays out. Tournament champions, a Hall of Fame legend, and online players will clash for a piece of the $480,000 prize pool and the chance to be crowned champion of the World Open 5.
I gotta cool down the jets here.
Oh my lord.
Oh.
Yay! He tried to outplay me. I
You showed him you give up and then you win.
That's right.
Yes. Just gotta lose the fear.
Welcome to the Palm Beach Casino in London for the Party Poker World Open 5. With $480,000 in the prize pool and a top-class lineup, we're sure to see some quality action at the bays. Tonight, our last heat begins. The winner goes through to the final table, and the runner-up gets a second chance in the playoffs. The lineup includes poker legend Mike Sexton, European Open champion Roberto Romanello, and the reigning World Open champion Marty Smith. We're sure to see an almighty clash of styles at the table tonight.
I'm going to give everybody a lot of respect today, as I always do in every game I play. I do know that your opponent, doesn't matter how good or bad they are, they can always have the hand that's going to take you out.
Well, I think every poker player in the world would love to have this victory on their poker resume, honestly. Whatever you win in your lifetime, this is going to be, you know, right up there in the top 10 of wins, no question about that.
Palm Beach is really my local club. I play 2 or 3 nights a week in here. I know all the people in here, and hopefully they'll be rooting for me, and hopefully I'll do well.
I'm the defending champion from last year. I think I'm playing just as well this year as I did last year. The only difference is last year I pretty much won everything, and this year I've won nothing so far. But I'm still pretty confident I can give a good account of myself. I certainly hope I can anyway. It would be nice to get a run in this tournament again this year.
I'm basically play private cash games. We play for very big stakes, and I'm known as the biggest winner.
Tonight's the last heat. 5 seats already at the final table. 1 automatic spot left up for grabs. And I'm thrilled to be joined this evening by the Marbella kid, Paul Zimbler. Now, Paul, you've had experience in this format. Lots of it.
Lots of it, yeah. This format's a great format, but this time they're giving you 300,000 chips with the blind starting at 1-2, and it's there's a lot of strategy to this.
Yeah, and I mean, the great thing that we've seen, like, so far, is all the weapons available to a poker player can be used tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you've got so much room for maneuver here, but normally in this format you can't see so many moves, but today we're going to see everything.
The raise bluff, the check raise bluff, the re-raise bluff, and the defending champion is on the table.
The only Englishman, the only Englishman here.
Well, this heat, the last heat, 5 places in the final, and maybe we have saved the best for last, Paul.
Good or bad?
Thank you.
Well, Mike Sexton's on the table, and for those of you who have been living in a cave, he is the newest member of the World Series of Poker Poker Hall of Fame. That's class on the table.
Yeah, congratulations, Mike.
Look and I'll call. Do you want to do that?
Please do.
Do you want to do it?
Please do.
Do you want to do it?
Please do, guys.
Do you want to do that?
I've
got a lot of mouth.
I don't think he's
Do you want, I'm not wasting anyone's time.
TV time.
Do you want to do that?
TV time. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I just told you.
Do you ever see bullshit walk?
Money talks,
Well, yeah.
bullshit walks.
You put it in, I promise you, on my children's life, I'll call without looking.
Should never ever do that.
Just
Never
do it.
swear on your children's
Well, you
life.
shouldn't shit
They're
your
far
pants.
too
I've
important
told
for
you
the
what to
poker
do.
game.
Money talks.
I think Dixie's getting a bit carried away
Your
here.
poor children should never swear on their lives.
That's right. I've done it plenty of times and I've never worked on it. You want to put it in, Dave, I'll put it in. Your arsehole's tweaking now, isn't it? The old tea towel holder.
Good. I thought you know
Starting well.
bad language here.
I thought it was very quiet. Actually, it isn't.
I thought you're not allowed to use any bad language. What's going on here?
This is Fitoussi could get in a bit of trouble.
They certainly could. Defending champion Marty Smith fluffed the set. Bruno with top pair. And this is going to be really tough for Bruno to get away from. How does Marty want to play it, fast or slow?
I think Dixie's going a bit overboard with the chat.
Raise to 50,000.
Now, look how big that bet is, 50. Marty willing to stack off.
I think Bruno's happy just to call. I don't. It's not like it's a heavily drawing board that Bruno needs to start trying to defend his hand.
I actually think Bruno can pass here. He's nobody's fool. He knows that Marty sticks 50,000 in.
You see his throat there, the way he's breathing and swallowing. He doesn't like the situation at all.
Fitoussi has played at the highest level of poker for some years. Wow, he is calling.
Yeah, he's not going to fold, but he's not going to get involved.
Second in the horse tournament. 50K buy-in in Vegas a couple of years ago to Freddie Deeb. Very deep finishes.
That's kind of a good card for Bruno, because if he did put Marty on some form of draw, it would have been Jack Queen.
Bruno's now drawn dead.
I think he gets away here.
It's 100 there.
Yeah.
I think he can get away here.
So that's all your greens then.
Yep. I've still got some reds, lots of yellows.
This is a big decision. I mean, top pair, top kicker is a big hand.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
It's not big
when
enough,
you're in a
is it?
pot that's going to be 318,000 in level 1.
Wow, he's called it!
Well, now Marty knows he can get the rest on the river.
Well, it's going in, isn't it?
It has to go in. And it's got to be an all-in.
Well, I mean,
You know he's going to check behind because he doesn't need to bet the river. And if he's got Jack Queen, it's a cooler. So
that was a backdoor flush came on the river, and I just wonder if Marty's, if he's somewhere between. Do I have to put this in and hope he's going to call with less, or do I have to check?
I think Marty knows he can't check because if the guy moves all in, is calling. So.
I mean, at this stage, the last thing Marty thinks is that Bruno is as weak as ace-10. This is a very big pot.
Yeah, and Marty's thinking if it's a cold deck, it's a cold deck. But if he's got half a hand, he's going to check behind Bruno. He's not going to bet it. So, and Marty knows this. I'm just telling the people at home.
All in.
He's gone for it all.
Might be for dinner at home, you're right.
Bruno's got to work out. He's called his raise on the flop. He's called 100,000 on the turn. I'm guessing Bruno's going to have to call here. Or did he call on the turn to fold on the river? I mean, he's still got half his stack. I mean, he can come back.
He can call, but he obviously thinks that Marty must be bluffing.
I mean, Bruno called 100,000 and got the information he needed.
All right.
So he can fold here.
Nice sound.
He let it go. And the defending champion takes the pot. Bruno's wounded. All this talk about the class on the table. We haven't even mentioned Bruno Fitoussi yet. One of the founding members of the Aviation Club in France. Sort of brought the World Poker Tour over to Paris. Certainly very influential in the rise of poker in Europe. I think as we've seen with a lot of guys playing this tournament, Paul, they don't even think about the money. They don't know how much the first place is. They're just trying to play good poker. I mean, I guess that's the attitude you have to have, really.
Well, you should know what the tournament is. I mean, like you say, a lot of they don't even know the blind structure, but it's a game and they just want to win.
And a couple of limps out. And I guess it was Dixie limping early, and Romanello with the isolation play from the button. Very similar hands among these threes.
Cool.
What I'm interested in, if they all miss.
It's Romanello's for the taking. He's taking the lead here.
What if they all hit?
It's kind of a interesting flop.
It's a massive.
It's an up and down. It's a flush draw and a gut shot with overcards. I mean, Sexton's going to be out of the way.
Well, Roberto's bet, and lots of options here. I mean, Sexton has plenty of odds against an overpair.
Raise to 30,000.
Wasn't expecting this, I'll be honest. I mean, it's the same as an up and down. He's got a 5 or a 9. So, but he doesn't have diamonds, so it's an interesting play from Mike.
Well, he's certainly putting Roberto in a much different place. You know, Roberto could have overcards, and I think Romanello might shove this here. I mean, I wonder, what's Roberto what's he putting these guys on?
Well, he thinks Mike's got a hand here. I don't see him shoving. It's a definite call.
Yeah, Sexton's played this like he may have flopped a set, isn't he?
Call.
Jeez, if it comes a 5,
A 5.
the floor's gonna fall out.
It's a diamond.
Wow, that's
And now Roberto's going to find a
well,
check.
Mike Sexton will be done with his hand. With Dixie cold calling, he knows that the diamonds have to be in one of two players' hands.
Nah, Dixie's hand didn't really look like a flush draw. This is...
What did it look like?
I don't know. And Roberto's going to be loving this.
50,000.
I see a smooth call.
I think Roberto's terrified he's beat.
No. I mean, Dixie's generally such a solid player. You think that's a man that looks comfortable or a man that looks nervous?
This is a huge, huge point in this pot.
Roberto's looking as if he doesn't want to call, but he has to call to induce another bet. I mean, Dixie has to have another stab, unless he catches the 5. Or the 10.
212,000 in there. And Dixie has to go big, and that might not even do it.
Could be an all-in moment.
He's got a 9 high. Dixie, if you're going to go so deep.
It's got to be a minimum of 100, really, hasn't it? And it's so hard to do.
100,000.
And it's a snap call. No value in the re-raise, really, here. And I wonder what Ellis Reuben's going to have to say at the end of this hand. See if the needle comes out.
Dixie Dean, under pressure. This man has put nearly all his tank in
He doesn't
with
look comfortable.
nothing.
Roberto's a great reader. And he's leaving it as long as he can to just get that one last thing to know that he's 100% right. But even if he's not sure that...
He's called it! It's a good call. It is a good call.
Cards on their backs, and he sees the hand.
He's got the flush. And,
Romanello.
and Dixie Dean is going to be left very short indeed. It was a brave play.
You're representing a flush, you know?
Yeah.
You just didn't have it.
The problem is you had a flush too. That is a big problem.
He held himself reasonably calm as well. There was something there.
There's been some action, Paul.
Wow, I mean, yeah, 11 hands in, and we've got two guys that have already increased their stat by over 50%.
Dixie Dean, Bruno Fitoussi, the football, massive pots. They're still in it, but
Welcome back to the Palm Beach Casino in London. Our players are battling it out to win Heat 6 and a place at the final table for the Party Poker World Open 5.
Sexton's popped out a few times, and I don't know if he's won a pot yet. Paul,
I'm a comrade.
in English.
Don't murder me too bad.
In English.
English.
In English.
Yeah, maybe in other languages. I have no idea.
I'm not that bad in French.
Oh, are you
I do a lot.
Yeah, you'd be very good.
I do a lot.
I'm sure you're very good too.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not going into
In
politics.
French, I'm better than Mike, that's for sure.
Raise to 11.
Yeah, it's not a bad raise. I mean, he's in the cutoff here, and
well, it's also,
step up our play. We'll be
if
heading
I'm
back
not
to the booth
mistaken, it's the
pretty
first
soon.
time Felipe has raised tonight. Actually, quite surprised to even see Marty call. I mean,
Pass.
well, Marty's on a button. He's
Right.
going to see a flop. I think if Marty was in the small blind there, he might pass. But
Pass.
you know, he's got chips to peel off a flop.
right. But he's not over the moon right now. I mean, he's
No.
going to give Felipe some respect, right?
It's going to be a small pot. And it looks like it's going to be over quickly.
Nice flop for the Brazilian.
He's going to bet out maybe 15, 14, 16.
15.
I think the chances are that he can do a bicycle kick. It's like 4 to 1 on, right? Just by virtue of where he's from.
And score?
And Marty, he doesn't. I think he's trying. He's trying to find a reason to call. It looks like he might have found one, but I think he was really leaning towards the fold there.
We're going to see a check and then maybe a little 20, 25,000 from Marty to really put the question on whether he really had a hand. I mean, I'd love to see Felipe bet here, but
It was a tricky little spot for him, isn't it? Because if he had like a big pair, he would have checked anyway, wouldn't he?
yeah,
So maybe he's going to have to bet now to try and take it. And I believe.
he'll get called.
Will he? Well, he might.
Well, if you haven't bet the turn, then
He's going to have to find. He's going to. He might be a little worried that Marty called him with a pocket pair and he'll pay off the river.
I mean, I thought Marty floated him to bet the turn. I mean, it's got to be at least 40, 45,000 to even have a chance of winning.
Be a very bold call for Marty to make. Looks like about 30 something.
19.
19.
That's cool.
It's a nice bet.
Yeah, it looks like a value bet, but Marty's trying to work this all out, and he'll play it back in his head. And I think he'll, because he can call a muck, and if he's losing to a big hand, and if not, it looks like such a great hero call. A lot of players like to do this.
I feel pretty stupid here, I think. This is wrong.
You don't have to show if you're wrong, but it's right.
Yeah, it was a good call. You called it exactly right, Paul.
Yeah, you're in pretty bad shape, Ellie.
The price got him in.
Yeah. I mean, 40,000, he wins the pot. So many players try and make it look like a value bet, but what they don't understand is by making it look like a value bet, you're giving them value to call. And if you're bluffing, that's the last thing you want to be doing.
Talk about being on his game. The defending champion doing everything right. When he won the Poker Million, he was down to 1.5 big blinds too.
1.5, yeah.
Yeah. Seems to be his comfort zone. He said he finds it very hard to make a mistake at that stage.
It's his comfort zone, but he does not want to be there all the time. And then Marty's going to throw an ace away.
Mike Sexton has had a lot of sort of trouble, and this is more of it.
It's trouble for Dixie too.
Well, because Bruno is a little short, because he's a little short stacked, he must pick up that money in the middle, right?
Yeah, but 133,000 more. I think if he made a raise, Dixie would have moved all in.
Me and you with the shit stacks, isn't it?
Nothing time. We're about in the same.
But I don't think he wants to take any chances, like you say. He just wants to pick up the money.
One of us must
Picking
stay
up
in.
30 odd thousand.
Let's gamble.
I think I'm done. I think that's more likely a move anyway.
Yeah, Dixie can convince himself this is a move with a low pocket pair and that it's a race. He could easily convince himself of that.
Yeah, but do you want to call your stack off in this event?
Saying, don't call, Dad, don't call.
And his other kid will be saying you should call. This is just such an easy fold.
I don't want to be first out this tournament.
Why not? It's the same as
I don't want to be
same as
first
the
out.
fifth one out.
I want to be first in.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
He's called.
Cool,
Bruno's got on. Very clever by the Frenchman.
Very good. I mean, I think if he makes a small raise, Dixie pushes, but he's managed to get the money in such great shape. So
253,000. Fitoussi will be right back in it.
Yep.
Dixie needs the jack or he's gone pecan. Oh!
Just a lifeline from heaven. Still, it's a long way to the finish line now.
6-7 nonces like that.
How about a 5 or a 3 on the turn, just to make it interesting?
Am I covered? I don't even know.
Well, left it to a king, and a king only.
It's okay.
South London cheers for Dixie Dean. Well, he knows he stuck his foot in that one. Very unlucky for Fitoussi. Very unlucky.
You know, you can do everything right, and then it's just bad luck.
And listen where Bruno Fitoussi's left. I mean, this guy has won just about everything there is in European poker. But if he can win this.
This is a chip and a chair. And we've seen it before, so Dixie's back in the game.
Then it matters.
Roberto must be loving this.
Yeah, he's definitely bringing all his weapons to the table tonight, isn't he?
And he's getting Mike to tell the table how strong he was. Because people believe him.
Thank you.
Here we go. Fitoussi found a hand to get it in with.
Even so, you're not going to be very hurt
I pass.
if you lose this, but it's not going to be a big deal.
Pass. Pass.
And someone's going to have to call. Oh.
My Terminator.
Raise.
It is. I don't really think that Fitoussi feels anything but...
Raise to 45.
So what do you think about this raise here? Do you think he should have just called and had a chance to take a player out? It's always a tough line in level 1. I mean, later on I understand the raise, but you know, if somebody shoves now, you know, you got to fold your jacks. It opens the door for someone to shove to steal the side pot and to give them value.
I don't think Dixie looks like a guy who's ready to fold the 2 jacks. Well, it's definitely, if he had just called, then Felipe's coming in. So that big re-raise has definitely reduced the number of hands that are going to play against him. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, and what the problem is Felipe knows if he calls now, there's going to be a side pot. So he's probably going to have to call a bet out on the flop.
Oh no, that was about 220,000 pots, so probably about 180.
Chips are not organized like
Yeah, I mean, Ramos has asked how much chips there are.
225 it was, so it's 45, it's about 180 there.
Every player has the right to know how many chips the other player has. That's,
He's entitled to a count.
Well, he can look across really and see. You don't need to get a full count. You can see how big each stack is.
All right.
It's all in here. Dixie with the jacks, Fitoussi standing, and he doesn't feel it, does he, Paul?
No, I wouldn't either with a king 10 against jacks, but
don't ask for more.
There's always outs. Jack Queen would be the flop I guess he'd like to see against Dixie. Make him feel better. Doesn't look good now.
Doesn't look good. King of spade, just for fun. No, okay.
No,
yeah,
the Queen of Spades.
Whoa.
The lady. I'm a lady.
Who would have thought? 3 outs to 4.
No, I got you 10.
Unlucky.
Unlucky. Good luck, everyone.
It's unlucky, but you know it happens. It's poker. We have to lose players, and unfortunately, Bruno's the first one.
Yeah, sure.
Dixie Dean is going to be well stacked up. A little fly early, but how many chips has Dixie got now? Basically, got to start this.
He just took 15,000 off Bruno. That was really it in that pot.
And short stack guys, Reuben, Sexton, Ramos, they're fine, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's no short stacks in this yet.
This is the Party Poker World Open 5. We've just lost Bruno Fitoussi, but action continues here in Heat 6 at the Palm Beach Casino in London.
Preferred my 50, right?
Pass. Pass.
Empty seat. just firing on every cylinder right now, Romanello. There must be something under that hat.
Pass.
This guy's had sixes like 4 times.
There's a couple of guys, now it's not for lack of trying, but, you know, Sexton, Drescher, Ramos, Ellis, they're having a tough row. I mean, little joy.
Is your man getting stubborn here?
Cool.
I'm not a fan of. I mean, there's protecting your big blind, and it's calling with 7-3 because now it could be a big pot.
There's a trigger back there talking to Dixie, but Felipe's flopped the flush draw. How do you play it? Check call, check raise, or lead out?
It's good to lead out here. I mean, the guy's raised on the button, so and a pair of sixes may re-raise.
It's a dunk, a lead in, and Drescher folding feels very weak here,
Yeah,
and raising feels very vulnerable.
Yeah, and calling just doesn't make sense. It's a really, really tough spot with sixes. You're better to raise here for information than call another bet on the turn.
He's called to reevaluate on the turn. He is in position.
See, I think he should fire again there.
He might be on a pot control mission here, Drescher. He is happy enough to let this one sort of sallow.
And now what does he do with 7 high? He has to fire. And he has to fire like 50. He knows his opponent has something, and something that beats 7 high.
Well, just because the way this pot's sort of gone down post-flop, Paul, I think he's getting called if he bets. He's representing 3 10s. I'm guessing a very sort of tricky 3 10s, but it looks like a busted flush draw as well.
It's one or the other.
It's not a 4.
There's no in between. It's a 10 or it's a busted flush draw, and that's what it comes down. He's either got it or he doesn't. Like you say, it's not a 4, it's not a queen.
He's made the call. That's the second time that Ramos has gotten caught bluffing out on the river. These guys are curious about him. And Drescher
takes it down. You see, if he fired a second bullet on the turn and a third bullet on the river, he gets it through. And that's the difference. It doesn't look like a busted flush draw if you fire 3 times.
Just make a pair.
You know, bluffing's not easy.
Felipe says, if I could only make a pair. If I were a rich man. He's still got 2/3 of his stack. Drescher's got 100,000 more, and he's been very aggressive. And look at the steal attempts around most. Folded to him late, round the back. He's in there.
Yeah.
And that's what they've recognized. He was the guy, Mike Sexton. Depends who you ask, but the one who basically dreamed up the idea of turning $1 into $1 million on
the dream.
You know that.
And look at it now. How many stories you hear?
Yeah.
Luke Schwartz, Stevie 444. They start with free rolls and they have millions in the account. Never deposited once. They play online satellites. They win big tournaments.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, back the Party Poker Million, which was the first ever sort of tournament where you could qualify for $1 and there was $1 million guaranteed. That started the whole dream. That equaled by guys like Moneymaker, and you know, that was where it all began. Is Romanello on a re-raise mission? He's in the big blind.
It's going to get through. It would get through. I mean, it's not a bad hand to be re-raising here with. You haven't played a hand in like 12 hands. The initial raise was from Ramos, who's been raising so much.
Right. Yeah. Very, very clever squeeze. And that was the key, isn't it? The key is that Ramos has been doing so much raising around the back. We saw his steal frequency.
Yeah.
And Roberto has just picked up on it. No, he called. He called. It was just a threat. It was just a threat.
Oh, I got up off the chair.
Fooled me.
This is
Would have been a nice time for Ramos to pull, for Roberto to pull the trigger, that's for sure.
It would have been a great squeeze because Smith just called on the button.
25.
I'll tell you, Felipe's kind of going to pieces here, Paul. Yeah. They've all realized that his steal frequency is really high, and by that, I mean, if it's folded to him in late position, he's opening up any 2 cards, just about.
He needs to change gear, really, because the blinds are about to go up, and he's just bleeding chips. I mean, I think Marty should raise here.
Cool.
I guess he didn't in case there's a player behind with a big hand, but...
Yeah, I mean, Marty might also be thinking that if he just calls, you know, he's giving Felipe the chance to just keep on firing. I mean, it is, with that an ace there, it's the far ahead, far behind theory, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose there's... With both things into account, you know, you can call to see what happens behind and hope that Felipe carries on. I mean, Felipe has to, he must give up then.
He's drawing dead right now, Ramos. And the question is... Yeah, well,
just check behind here. This is a check behind.
If any value and reason.
Correct. Take it down.
Same hand, Marty Smith. If Ramos raises ace-10, he's in there. And the defending champion, well, he's got like over $500,000. He's down to 150,000, Ramos. As you said, Paul, he's not connecting with flops. When he's hit the flop, he hasn't hit the turn or river.
He hasn't bet right when he's got a big hand, and that's the problem. Here we go, Dixie hasn't played a hand in about a week. I like this.
Sexton's made it 15,000, and the quick call from Dixie Dean. He wouldn't mind someone raising around the back.
I think that's what he's relying on, isn't it? It's a couple of squeezes out the back. Doesn't look good up to now.
He also won't mind playing a flop in position with the Hall of Famer and 2 kings.
In case I win it, at least I like blind in there.
Interesting to see what Sexton thinks of Dixie's call. Like, if this comes all low, is he going to fire out a continuation bet? I think so. And then he might have to switch off after. No.
No, if he doesn't hit, he's not getting involved. He knows he's been caught. Dixie hasn't played a hand in a while. He probably doesn't put Dixie on kings, but he probably puts him on kind of a big ace, a bigger ace, or a pocket pair. So I just see if... No, he hasn't got involved all day. I think he's just reaching. I think he's throwing it away. Is it time to step up again?
50,000.
Check raise.
Such a strong move, but unfortunately it comes down to timing, and maybe Mike's got a good image, but certainly not seeing Dixie lay down kings here.
Yeah, but he's certainly worried now. Yeah. He's thinking, what is this guy doing to me? I mean, he'll look at Mike Sexton, and he's... Mike's a bit of a rock. What have I got myself into? I walked into aces, jacks full, or a flush draw.
Yeah, I think aces and jacks are the 2 concerns.
All right.
But I don't like the re-raise.
50,000 more.
And now, does Sexton know he's in big trouble? I mean, he
it's
knows.
Hand over, isn't it? It's hand over. But if he just takes his time and makes a call, Sexton, you know, decided to change gears, and maybe he fires out. But
well, Sexton definitely had the image to make a move, but he picked the wrong man at the wrong time in Dixie Dean's pocket cowboys. Dixie had shut up shop. And now he's back in business.
Yeah, back over his original starting stack, so he'll be happy from the start that he had.
That was an expensive play for Sexton. He's Still got 200,000. Wow.
Yeah.
He must have just picked up a little something. He thought Dixie was sort of at it. It's not the first time somebody's underestimated Dixie Dean. I mean, I thought he was from East London. Take South London over East any day.
South London. Just as soon as they throw him away, he picks up a couple of 8s.
Cool.
Cool.
See, I like this play.
Price.
Tell you, blinds 3 and 6,000 now. Wouldn't be surprised if we lose a player at this level.
Raise to 21,000
And
total.
Here we go.
well, because Roberto's been so active,
He could get on here. I mean, he could get on pre.
it's almost a cooler, isn't it?
Dixie may try and show it like it's a big hand, like he's flat call to get the re-raise to push. Let's say Romanello's played a lot of hands here. You saw him just call with queens in the earlier levels, and he's waiting to get on.
Cool.
Head up for the flop.
It's all going to come down to if there's any escape cards for Dixie here. Otherwise, it's
Well, when it comes to the dynamics of the hand, the pot.
this is it. It's over. You say goodbye to Dixie.
Check.
He's going to bet out here.
Check.
Oh no, you could get a huge pot if you bet there. He's got away with it.
Sort of the dynamics of the hand where, Dixie Dean bluffed 2 streets into Roberto when Roberto had the flush. And
So what do you reckon here, Jesse? I mean, he's checked the flop. He doesn't know what Dixie's hand is, obviously, but
yeah, I mean, I think Dixie thinks he's betting for value, and Roberto thinks Dixie is bluffing, so he'll let him hang himself.
he's not limped under the gun and called a raise with trash. I think a nice 50, 60,000, 60,000 value bet would be snap called.
He's getting called. There's just no way. There's just no way he's not getting called. Roberto's checked the flop. I mean, it's pretty. It was a cooler, really.
And I think he gets on if he bets the flop. I think Dixie would have raised.
I think you're right.
So Dixie's thinking this is cheap for me. I was ready to put my stack in on the flop.
Cool.
And look, the players are never going to believe he had queens there.
Yeah, he's getting everything at the exact right time. 2 8s, no good against 2 queens in the end around.
Yeah, he's happy there with small pot poker, isn't he? He just picked up a nice pot for like 100 and something thousand.
What did they say? The best invention man has ever made? The wheel. Second best, Roberto on fire. And he is on fire, isn't he? I mean, it does feel like playtime right now for him. It's sometimes the cards make it look like that even more.
Yeah, I mean,
everything just goes perfect.
But the whole table are learning not to mess around with him because he's playing deceptive poker. I mean, they've seen him turn over monsters when he's kind of played the pot small. So, but it's working.
You wouldn't begrudge Felipe a flop here, would you?
Yeah, I mean, this is the perfect scenario for him. I mean, I
Come
don't know
on,
what Dixie's
Ramos.
doing here.
Come on, Ram.
Tilting. Or we could see a big pot here.
Well, you're right. I mean, Dixie's got the straight and the flush draw. He must feel like this is a monster. Little does he know what kind of trouble he's
I
in.
see Dixie raising this one. In his mind, he's got 12 outs. What he doesn't know.
He wouldn't be wrong to, really, would he? Well, Ramos is trying to figure out what the best move is and with the 100 he's got. And
25,000 raised, all in.
Dixie, check raise. And Ramos now has got about 75K there.
It's calling.
He would pretty much be sure he's up. Yeah, he's pretty sure he's up against an ace.
Yeah.
So the question is, do I have a price here? I think if you're up against an ace here, you're about 2 to 1 or something like that. Yeah, you maybe got 30, 32.
Yeah, but he's also only got 76,000 left. So
Right.
Before he bets, he has to. It should go through your mind. What am I going to do? You know, he took his time to make a bet, and he made an amount that he must know if his re-raise what he's going to do.
What after doing that?
83.
Yeah.
Got odds to do that.
Yeah.
All in and a call.
He's going to be so surprised when the cards go on their back.
I got you pressed.
Yeah.
Certainly does. Now Dixie's got outs here. The 3.
3-9-0-5.
And yeah, exactly right. For Ramos, it's the best spot he's been in all night. Who does the deck like? Queen High's good right now.
Queen High could win this pot and get him back in the game.
And the straight. Broadway straight. And you heard that.
Arriba!
Ole. He ended up making the nuts.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think every single player at the table was very happy Felipe won that pot.
Thank you very much. 76.
It's certainly given him some chips, and it's kind of kept this action going. 235,000. I get the feeling that if Felipe starts connecting with some flops, it can be very dangerous.
Welcome back to the Palm Beach Casino in London. We have a top-class lineup here tonight, so let's go take a look at some of the action from Heat 6 for the Party Poker World Open 5.
See tournament director Mad Marty Wilson there folding Marty Smith's cards. I think he's on a call of nature visit.
Raised 15,000 total.
Now, yeah, see, Roberto, he'd been making some of those re-raise moves before. He's
Yeah,
do it this time. Timing good.
This guy's changing gears and he's going to find a squeeze here.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Cool.
See, he's on the small blind there. That's Who's got the squeeze move? Felipe's out the hand, so it looks like it's not going to happen.
It's about 60,000 large, and
Ellis is thinking,
he's in the
my
driver's
image.
seat.
This is
Yeah.
perfect.
You know, is it the kind of flop he's going to be willing to stack off on?
Oh yeah, and there's a heart, and Mike Sexton's kind of going to fall in love with this flop. He's seen an all-in move folded to everyone. An all-in's a very strong move here, and you know you got 8 live outs if you're, maybe more if you're called, and you can't imagine anyone's got such a big hand. I mean, Ellis is going to shove.
I stuck 40 into 60, and Sexton has about 140 back.
Oh boy.
It's decision time, you know, because
it's going in. That's his style. If you want to beat me, you have to pay. He's announced that earlier, and there it is. And Mike's thinking, what have I done? I haven't committed myself. I've really just bet the wrong amount. But he's gonna think he's got 11 live outs. If he's against pocket kings and something like that, he's got any ace, any deuce, any 7. You know, if Mike knew he had black aces, he may fold. But he thinks he's got kings or queens, and that's the killer. Those 3 extra outs is like 12%.
No, I definitely do.
Now you definitely do.
I know you don't have a straight. Otherwise you'll be waiting for it out.
That's a good conclusion.
He's got this game sewn up.
All right, never go broke on a draw. Let's go.
Oh.
that's what it comes down to. Never go broke on a draw. Wouldn't you love to see what the turn of river would be?
Do we not have a river cam?
At 8 hours, though.
It was a deuce.
Show the Thursdays, I thought.
No.
Well, that's why he's in the Hall of Fame. Never gone broke on a draw.
Thursdays, I thought. No way was he bluffing.
Tell you what, you can pay the rent and build a career with that.
38 kings or queens, I'll be honest.
Yep. There you go.
Still the same.
No, it's not the same. It's 3 outs. It's 12%.
Now,
Pass.
this is down to how Sexton feels.
Pass.
Can he afford to take the blinds? He say yay. And a good thing he found the fold,
Did he
Sexton.
just fold an ace? Yeah.
Good thing he found that fold. This is the third pot in a row that that Ramos is raising.
27.
And,
27.
you know, the Brazilian's got a good chance of getting on here if somebody picks up half a hand.
I mean, it should be the third time you give him the respect.
Pass.
You know, this guy, he's quite a tight player. He might think if I make a re-raise that I got an image. But he may also just throw it in the bin.
Tricky decision for Drescher. He's opted to take off the flop.
Only one ace left in the deck, so.
Nice flop, flush draw.
Check.
Yeah, if Ramos had bet there, he was getting check raised all in. For sure.
Oh, it just gets better. Just gets better for this guy.
Drescher's pretty sure his hand is good. Pretty sure. Not 100% sure, but pretty sure.
30.
The standard play, I think, would be for Ramos to call here and see what happens.
Call.
They call it stubbornness. It's this guy's not stepped out of line at all. So if the ace king was good on the turn, it's good on the river. I think another 30, 40,000 bet here is going to get paid. Doesn't want to go too much. Remember, Felipe's only got about 200,000 left, so you got to price it accordingly to know what you're going to get called by.
Yeah, right. This is tricky. This is tricky.
75.
This all comes down to how he feels. You wouldn't really fault Ramos for calling, and you would have to applaud him for making the pass.
He's not made too many calls in this situation, especially for the size of the bet. 30,000, 40,000 gets called, I think, instantly. He wants to try and work this out. What's the guy got? He's called my raise pre-flop. He's checked the flop. He's bet the turn. And now he's bet the river. It looks like you can just roll over this guy because he's not had any action, but still very tough to call now.
Well, it's basically half of Ramos's stack. It would be fatal, or very, very serious, grave if he calls here and loses.
It's a hero call at the end of the day. You can beat a bluff. And let's be honest, the guy hasn't bet out too many times. He's called.
He's made the call. 3 8s. That's the story. And for Felipe Ramos, yeah.
On her face, but I didn't know if it was the 8 or a total.
That hurts. And everyone very interested to see that hand because the German hasn't turned many over tonight.
I thought you had a missed flush.
He did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big smile, Drescher. He is going to be a force in the latter stages for sure. 3 players on this table, barely in the double digits when it comes to blinds. And they're all in a row, like garden daisies.
It's coming to the time now. Soon. It's going to have a movement.
Yeah, this is about the only hand Drescher can play right now.
I'd love to see a call here and wait for the short stacks to push. Or something like that. It looks like you're opening up and one of them has to shove.
It was very, very tricky for Dixie.
You can't fault him for shoving.
If it had been folded around to him, he shoves all the time. This is more about how he feels. He knows.
He's got added value with the raise, even though he knows the raise has played so tight.
Is he? I think he's calling there because he thinks, well, I'm definitely getting called if I re-raise. This might give me another way to win it.
And I like the play.
Yeah, maybe.
But you have to be prepared to stick it in whatever comes.
Maybe he can get off it if an ace flops.
Oh,
Wow.
flops Broadway. Is that 3 spades on the flop though? I mean, is that the ace king with the king of spades?
Yeah, chips are going in here. There is no way the chips aren't going in. They're going in.
I mean, if Dixie checks here, it's bad because if a spade comes, he'll really won't like the situation. But you just got to get it in.
Doesn't matter if these things go in sideways or upside down, they're going in. And Dixie Dean ahead, but is only a slight favorite here against the spade draw.
Come on, Dixie boy. Do your best, son.
South London cheers for Dixie Dean. Germany going for Drescher.
Keep 'em red.
What is the deck like? That has given some extra outs. Ace or queen now. Additional cards for Drescher.
10 for the chop.
Get in there, Dixie.
Dixie's doubled up.
Vincent Vega and Dixie Dean, both of them doubled up. Dixie Dean back into the game after what looked like to be such an early knockout. Felipe Ramos has got to get himself together on only 113,000. Right now, it's been all Roberto Romanello.
We're partway through our last heat tonight, and there's still plenty more action left to come. One of our remaining players will go all the way to the final table and join the likes of Phil Lack, Andy Black, and Luke Schwartz. So join us next time for some more ferocious poker here at the Party Poker World Open 5.
Close, but not close enough.
I thought we were friends.
Never easy. It's never easy.